All right, here we go again. Another episode of Knicks Morning Coffee. Today we're going to go over a few things, just a couple of topics about things that's been going on with the Knicks this week, and then we'll save some, time on the end to go over some of the comments and opinions you guys sent in last week. So let's start with Coach had a press conference the other day. I think it was Wednesday. The Knicks got together for, some workouts when they was able to get with the team up in their own facility. And I watched that press conference, and I got to say, one thing I did like about that was he wasn't so overly enthusiastic about our players. And that's a good thing because, remember with Fizdale, Fizdale praised everybody from the door. And that's not bad, but at least now I think Tibbs got the idea that, some of the gems that we got, they need work, and we're going to put the work in, starting right now. So, I kind of like this press conference and some of the stuff as far as, we're going to play to the strengths of our players. Now, I can get, more better than that when you got a coach say, okay, RJ can do this, Mitch can do that, Kevin, whatever your skill set is, he's going to put that into the offense. And that's what a lot of the teams are doing now. You look at Miami Heat, they don't really have no superstars. And really even Jimmy Butler is not a superstar, but he knows how to play within his role as the star of the team. And then he makes sure everybody eat. So, listening to Coach, talk about some of the things he's going to implement on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball, that was just encouraging to hear. As a Knicks fan, that, he's going to strip it down and then take it from there. So that press conference, told me that the Knicks are going to be working hard from day one. And I also was encouraged to hear, because I remember I talked about a few weeks ago, you don't get a coach like Tibbs, and then he don't get to pick his own staff. So he talked about his assistant coaches. And just to keep in mind of how this 6 degrees of separation go, he already knew Johnny Davis in Utah from working with players. He already had a relationship with him. He knows about his pedigree of getting guys in the gym, and putting in that work. So he said that when he had an opportunity to find out they had an opportunity to get Johnny Davis, he said he was excited and that he was all for it. So that means that Johnny Davis was brought to his attention. But still, to get a guy that you want, that you're going to bring in and let him do his job on the side, that's excellent for us. And then he talked about Kenny Payne. He said he knew Kenny Payne personally, that every year before the draft, he would call Calipari. Calipari would let him talk to Kenny Payne, and Kenny Payne would give him the updates on guys coming out of college from whatever team. So that's a relationship that they had, throughout the time. But he said he'd never really seen him, working with the guys in the gym. But he've always heard great things about him. And then he went on to, talk about Woody and the respect that he has for Woody. Because if you remember, too, I said they kind of do the same thing. But I didn't really get the idea he was just, blowing smoke. Everybody wants their own coaches. But I think he's probably really satisfied with the staff that he put around the team, and that they can contribute by doing what their job is, because, he's the head coach. So his word is the last word. But just to know that, okay, when they get in practice, everybody got a role to do in practice. And I remember last year, I complained about having all these assistant coaches and nobody's helping anybody get better. So I remember that, Joey, and I ain't understand what we're going to do with all these assistant coaches, and they're not helping nobody. Guys just running them up. And just game is staying the same. So that was encouraging to hear about the coach and his open-mindedness, because he has a history of being stubborn and running guys out the door. So that was kind of refreshing for me to know that, okay, Kevin, these are the areas you got to work on. I know your potential, but now you got to play ball. RJ, we're going to sit down. And they also said that, I guess RJ stays after practice and work on things on his own, and that Tibbs stays back with him. So that's a relationship right there that could bond and blow up right before our eyes. Blow up in a good way right before our eyes. So RJ just need a little bit of refined tuning, and he's ready to go.
Yeah, I feel like he's there. I feel like RJ and Robinson, they have that thing that we used to talk about. Like they came in ready. It's not like I was talking with the homies and Kevin Knox. Like, do you think this coach is gonna work with him, or he's like a done deal?
No, I think he's gonna work with him. I think he's gonna. Again, Kevin could go two ways. Kevin could be a 3, or he could really still be a stretch 4 in today's game. So you got options with Kevin. Again, you don't give him away because the guy, he's still 20 years old, something like that, and his body's is going to fill out even more, and look what you got. And he's a thoroughbred. So you don't give up on those kind of guys, The other topic is the free agent rumors. And I kind of wonder with some of these rumors because they're changing so fast. So are they really coming out of the Knicks organization, or is it just us and TV putting these things out there? But
Rand said it's the media.
Yeah. That same media that's going to follow him to Brooklyn. Now, Chris Paul's name is obviously still out there, and there's been a lot of comments about Chris Paul. A funny one snuck up in there is Westbrook, and I'll stay away from that one because that's Houston's problem. Westbrook is amazing talent, we know that, but he could set you back 5, 6, 7, 8 years just by the way he hogs the ball. So I'm not even going to touch that Westbrook one. I know it makes for good TV, but we don't got time for that. I saw last night. Now, the Clippers may be breaking their thing up, and Montrezl Harrell, may be on the block. I wouldn't mind Montrezl Harrell, but again, we got to be smart about that. What are we bringing him in to do, and for what? But again, nice young piece to have. The Kevin Love one. Now, believe it or not, I didn't want Kevin Love in the past, but that one kind of intrigued me. Not the salary, because he got about $30 million for the next 3-4 years. So, not crazy, but $30 million in today's game. If you have a guard, a good enough guard, I'm kind of intrigued by the Kevin Love one.
Somebody like Kevin Love, don't raise the eyebrow unless you're gonna bring in more people.
Well, to me,
he's definitely not going to be able to do it.
No, but
he's not like a.
That's what I was arguing with somebody about. You're not bringing him in to be a savior. You're bringing him in as a stretch 4 that can pass and rebound, and also a stretch 4 that can ignite your fast break. Because remember, Kevin is the one that for today's game pioneered to get the ball off the rim and just throw it down, to get the break started. Now again. Do we need Kevin Love? No, we don't need Kevin Love. But Kevin Love won't hurt Mitch, but he can also help the other guys. Like he can help the guards get out in front of the play instead of us just walking the ball up, every day. Again, I'm not in love with these players, but I just look at sometimes if you have to get somebody, then what can they do for you? And that goes back to, got beat up about Randall. I'm not saying I wanted Randall. I was just saying that I was making a case for Randall that if you're a coach and the general manager or the president tells you, okay, he's still on your team and he's also better than half your roster, okay, then if he's on your team, then what do you do with him? Where can you use him? So, that's a coach's call. But by no means am I making a case to keep Randall. But if you kept him, if I'm the coach, I'm going to try to get the best out of him. Like any smart coach, would try to do. And then there's another one that reminds me of Randall that's been floating around now too for a couple of weeks. And that's Grant out of Denver. Grant is a good, nice, solid player. But again, if you're going to get Grant, then you got to have the type of team around him. He's not a go-to guy. And you're going to be saying the same thing about him you said with Randall. Because we brought Randall, and Randall really should have been a piece of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle. And so that's the same thing to me Grant would be. Grant has skills that you can use. But if you're going to try to say, okay, he's the man now, when he's like the 4th, 5th option on his own team, and you're going to bring him in here and try to make him one of the prime pieces, well, then that's not his game, and then we're going to be right back, to square one the way we were before. But these type of names that float around out there, none of them really move the needle with me. But I can live with some of them. Now, the one that I've been thinking about past few days, and as soon as the Clippers lost, I started thinking about they're going to break that up. They're probably going to break that up. So, hey, why not Paul George? I mean, his career is, he's been taking a hit since really he left Indiana. So Paul George could be for us what Jimmy Butler is to Miami. We have pieces. I mean, look at Miami's pieces a year ago and 2 years ago. Nobody really was talking about what they got. But guys are just able to, Duncan and Hero, they're able to play their game and play off of Jimmy because Jimmy's not hogging the ball. Paul George is that type of a player where he could anchor your defense and also, maybe be the one with the clutch shots. But the ball will still move. And, hey, he got to save his career too. So that's something I would take a look at. That's a salary that I would probably break the bank a little bit for to get. Because if we're going to say that RJ and Mitch and Kevin and those young guys are our future, and if they're going to be on point playing the game the way that Tibbs hopefully, is going to try to play the game, why not have that type of veteran out there leading them along? As long as they're being productive, Paul George probably can't complain too much. So, to me, I'd take a look at that.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, Paul George don't hurt. And if we're scrappy.
Like I said, I know it was brought up, like our guards, we got a lot of guards, and I'm fine with all the guards we have. Like, all the guards we got are good. So if you got somebody like Paul George, that it don't really hurt us.
Nah.
Because, like, every kind of guard we got is for every situation.
Except that real shooting guard.
Yeah, but, that'll be fine if you got Paul George.
Yeah, but somebody still got to knock down the jumper, which could be. Yeah, I don't know about poor Doc, All right, and then the other topic is the draft prospects. I say it every week. I'm not overly enthused and crazy about the upcoming draft, and there are some nice pieces in this draft. It's just that we already got so many young guys. When are we going to start developing and letting them, put their foot to the metal and play basketball? Like look at Hero and Duncan and all them type of dudes. When are we going to do that? And a funny name that popped back up again is Halliburton. Now, Halliburton is a shooting guard. He's steady. I think he's just like kind of slow of foot. But for some reason, his name creeps back up. Vassal, name, always stays out there. What's this kid?
Cole Anthony.
Cole Anthony hasn't really, I think people just talk about him for us because of the local aspect, but I don't think he's on the Knicks radar at all. I'd be shocked. I'd really be shocked. Okora from Auburn, his name popped up a lot. And then there was even talk about the Knicks moving back to get picks. And I'll move back. Well, I don't want to move back either, but I'll move back before I try to move up, and mortgage the house for somebody who you can get, And then one of the guys that I've been looking at lately too, and what's this kid out of Vanderbilt, Aaron Nesmet. Now, Jerry Stackhouse coaches him, and Stackhouse says he's ready. And he's a big guard, and they say he's the best shooter in the draft. So, and we need shooting, in the starting lineup and off the bench. So if I can get a young guy and that can knock down a shot and that I can, have for a few years, even if you don't play a whole lot right away, give me those type of players. Give me guys that, I'm going to go back to Hero again. Given the opportunity to shoot, I can knock it down. We need guys that when they shoot that, 80-90% of the chance is going to go in, as opposed to somebody just jacking up shots, and if they on, okay, we fine, but if they're off, then they shoot us out of the game. Give me guys that can knock the shot down. Another name that pops up for later in the round or the second round, which I don't understand why teams are overlooking this guy, me and my brother Bobby, was talking about this the other day, and that's Kansas big man Azubuike. Now, he's been in the league a few years as a 7-footer. He can score, he can rebound, he can defend, he can protect the rim, he can even throw out of double teams. And I've seen games where he threw out of double teams quick. So a guy like that, a 7-footer to come in and you know, back up Mitch, only when you need them, because teams aren't really using back to the basket players. You know, but let's be real. The Joker, when the Joker wants a basket, he goes to that post. You know, be it sometimes it's most of the mid post, but he goes down there with his back to the basket, and when he get it, then he do all those other things. But those players are not dead. Don't let nobody fool you. You know, just that guys, a lot of 7-footers now don't know how to play with their back to the basket. But this guy know how to play with his back to the basket. And I could see him and Mitch at times together, you know, breaking down the defenses from the inside. You know, one can go out and challenge the shot, and then you got the other one back there protecting the rim, you know, or coming from the weak side. So I don't even know why he's, you know, that far down in the draft. You know, somebody's sleeping. But if we got an opportunity to get him, you know, I would get this guy. I'd get this guy in a heartbeat. All right, today was going to be a long show, but I do want to get to some of the questions and comments from last week that you guys sent in. And, you know, before I do that too, you know, can y'all, you know, do a man a favor and hit that subscribe. You know, I asked a lot of y'all that last week, and a lot of y'all did, but a lot of y'all didn't. You know, so if y'all can hook us up and do that, that would be great.
Road to 50. We only need like 3 more.
Well, we're trying to climb. We're trying to climb so we can do this thing live. Okay, from New York Knicks Work Show, they say Chris Paul is not totally bad idea. It kills the cat, but he immediately changes the culture, especially under Tibbs. Okay, that's true. I mean, he destroys the cat, you know, because it's 2 years. He's not going to opt out of all that kind of money. But the culture part, totally in agreement with that. You know, Chris Paul, and especially if you're going to bring him in and then you're going to keep those other guys once he gets their games going, you know, get them learning how to move around the basketball court, how every step means something, you know. Then you don't bring in Chris Paul leaves, then you get rid of them same guys. So what culture did you set? But again, not as opposed to that, to live with that. DTJ, she says, I agree with you, build a foundation. Our young guys are hungry and no Chris Paul. You know, so as you can see, I think people just don't want Chris Paul because he's not a ball hog, I think because of the salary. And then people just, you know, feel like, you know, getting him is going to hold us back. Well, I don't know what other free agents we're going to keep waiting to get because they're not out there no more. But again, yeah, I agree. You know, let's build this foundation. Our guys are hungry. You know, they want to roll, and if Tibbs can unlock that potential, you know, we good to go. The Legion of Knicks podcast. All right, just subscribe, good channel, and you know, good luck to yours too. Thanks for that. White Falcon 44. Now listen to this. This is one that's interesting. Okay, he would start. Now I'm assuming that the Knicks stand pat based on his lineup. He would start Frank, DSJ, RJ, Portis, and Mitch. And then
3 guards.
yeah. And then coming off the bench, Peyton, Dotson, Iggy, Knox, and Wooten. So I guess that would leave out Randall. But now listen, now again, that's if you're a coach and I guess if you're stuck with that lineup. But that's an interesting lineup because there's really no shooters in that lineup.
That's fine if the young players we have are gonna pass their potential. You know what I mean? Like, and we're gonna look like the Nuggets or the Sixers or like all them teams that had people that they drafted that finally come into their own. That's fine. Like, that's how we see it as Knicks fans. Because we know all our players. We love all our, you know, Knicks players. That's fine if they're going to come into
we need some shooters. We need some shooters in that in that lineup because I'm looking. Portis can knock down a shot, but he's never going to search his own shot, and he's never going to put up enough value. So that might be wrong there. I don't want to see RJ at the 3. I mean, I don't mind having RJ play the 3 sometime, but we can get a nice, 6'8", 6'9", 3-point guy that can shoot and slash and let RJ stay at the 2. So then that comes down to Frank and DSJ. That could work catching the defense off guard if DSJ is on his game the way we all thought he would be. But again, that's the lineup from White Falcon 44. If that was our team today, and you had to go with those guys, I would have Randall coming off the bench somewhere just because he's 20 and 10. So that was interesting. Then y'all tell me what y'all think.
Matter of fact,
if you had to keep that team.
If you make it this far, everybody put their starting lineups and bench players in the comments and see where y'all mind is at. Yeah,
based on what we have right now. Now I saved this one for last because this one, I guess it's called May 4th. And he had 2 interesting points about Tibbs. He talked about while in Minnesota, Tibbs traded away a lot of their future for Jimmy Butler. And that was true in Minnesota, but the 2 cornerstones, Towns and Wiggins, he kept. So you brought in Jimmy Butler and you brought in Josh Gibson. So that was supposed to balance out that team. And then for some reason, the team just went haywire, and maybe some people just didn't buy in. And you know that whole fiasco with Jimmy Butler and them guys. But I don't think Tibbs is going to break up at least our future in terms of our picks and young players. I don't think they allow him to do that. But the other interesting point he brought up was we talk about Tibbs and the defense and how in Minnesota Tibbs was in the bottom 20 on defense. So, and when we think about Tibbs and defense, we're thinking about, really, be honest, we think about his Chicago days. Even though he spent some time out there in Minnesota, we're thinking about what he did with Chicago. But again, some of them guys may not have bought in, and then maybe too the way it was being taught, to some of them young guys. Everybody can't deal with that hard-nosed, coach in your face, type of thing. So, but this we're gonna hold on to this one later because I think this is a whole another show into itself with Tibbs and his coaching style. But again, I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate the support. We're really trying to get our numbers up, so, like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you think so we can improve on the show. All right? Knicks Nation, peace.